Hey everyone, so let's see how bad the nerfs are really for Dante and Neza. Some people are downright infuriated about the patch notes. Dante, his buffs being affected, his line of sight being affected on both disability, tragedy, dark verse, and tragedy. Let's test it and see how bad it really is. Let's pause the AI so it's considerably easier to test. Honestly, I feel like Warframe players often over-dramatize things, but we shall see. Okay, our book wardens are still doing their thing. I personally thought this was a little stupid, nuking through a brick wall with an ability. Like, Zenith's unique feature, right? The 700 login gun, day login gun or something, was infinite punch through. But just cheesing the game, that's not fun to me. So we activate tragedy. Yeah, it no longer hits through walls. But hey, our owls, like I didn't even shoot the enemy, you were watching. What the hell? Okay, our pets and our owl, while they were alive, killed these dudes. Yeah, he's still ridiculously overpowered. People are just over-dramatizing things. It was just too much, honestly. Like, you have to at least be in range of these scrubs. It just doesn't make the game any fun if you know, if you don't let enemies fight back. So let's try and understand what they're talking about with the nerfs to the owls, because the owls were some of my favorite units. Let's use our boar. Okay, that's a little too powerful. They die too quickly. But the owls are basically still doing their thing. Paragrims, sorry. And yeah, no, everything's just melting. Working as intended. Let's actually unpause the AI and see how it goes. Yeah, I mean, come on. Like, there's so many frames that just can't compete with that at all. It's like the entitlement of spoiled children, as Teshin says, has reached too high a level. People thinking they can tell the developers how to balance their game consistently, like how to make it fun. It's like, okay, well, go study game design and release, a game that does well over a 10-year period yourself, because it's the same people running it. So basically, Dante's nerf is, yeah, a bit of a minor hit, but I think it was just unintended. They shouldn't have released it. One of their flaws as a development team is releasing content too early and then making a change that should have been made already, and then people get pissed off about that because they think like, but I got used to it. I got used to nuking stuff through the pillar. Come on, it's just not even fun if you cheese too hard. Like, risk and reward, right? The hard is what makes it good, she said. And he laughed at his own joke. Yeah. wouldn't fare too well as a comedian. So I didn't even use tragedy and everything's melted. And these are like the hardest enemies in the game. I mean, if you halfway know what you're doing, it doesn't really affect you that much. Let's look at the other nerf now, Neza. This one I'm a little more concerned about because it affects the way he feels more than his stats, which are what was nuked on Dante, nerfed, and I'll go into a bit more detail about what exactly. Oh, look at that, we still have the Overguard. That's nifty. Okay, let's activate our warding halo. So what exactly was nuked is the divine spears. So let's go over here. Okay, we hit nothing. That doesn't feel good. We used to hit stuff. We hit one enemy. Ouch. Yeah, the range nerf on this is quite considerable. Stand in the middle of everything, and yeah, still hitting a decent amount. I mean, it kind of did need a nerf. There was not going to be a pretty way around it. It was overpowered. People were getting 300 kills per minute. So like 10 minutes, 3,000 kills, 2 hours, 30,000 kills. That's sort of higher than Saryn, I kind of think. I don't know. Maybe not. Yeah, but it's a little painful. To be honest, I think they should have reduced the amount of status damage mobs take whilst being impaled, so that not all of them just melt like that, because functionally now all you need is a pull-in skill, so pull in my leg, no, a grouping skill to do the same thing, right? The stats are still the same. It just makes you clump them up now. So one cool thing to do with Nezha then would be to play with Saryn, as if he isn't immortal enough already. Then you have a bit of an energy issue because he drops Zenuric. But not really, because even with the high power, relatively high power builds, anything over 200 is kind of relatively high power, I think. Oh, spears didn't affect them. What? But yeah, Glaive Prime still shredded them. Okay, that was strange. So we grouped them up with Void Snare. Let's test that again. And then Divine Spears seem to have 0 effect. Maybe it's a visual glitch, maybe not. It's hard to tell because we're using the Glaive Prime, which just melts them all, so mercy. Maybe we discovered a new bug. Maybe it's visual or actual. Let's test that out with a kunai, for instance. Yeah, that should work. So group them all up together, use Divine Spears, don't die in the process, and they should all take damage from the kunai if the Divine Spears is working. Are working, good English. Okay. Doesn't really seem to be working properly. That's annoying. That's an annoying interaction, because like larva and different things. Yeah, so there's always going to be highs and lows. That's like part of what makes a game a game. There's risk and reward, and there's always going to be good patches and bad patches for different frames. The nerf, in all honesty, hit Neza harder than Dante. The range on his 4th ability, so on Divine Spears, went down. You can't even see it properly in that tooltip. Bug frame. You've completed Warframe. You have moved on to bug frame. Yeah, I was only running 100% range because it was enough before to just have it like that. But now I would say you need to run range. This was nice. This you can actually really drop. It's not needed, yeah. And don't really need that. Because we're not doing any cold damage. Yeah. Let's try again with a little more range. And get some energy first. So Saryn doesn't work very well. And painfully low range now. Yeah. If you stand in the middle of a horde, you do still hit most of them. So kind of hope they revert the change to give range and lower the damage, as that would quote unquote fix the issue in a different way. But then there's like frames such as Saryn, and guns and weapons like the Glaive Prime and Sobek for armor stripped weapons that just don't get touched, that do the same thing. So it's kind of, yeah. A little bit annoying, as I was quite enjoying Neza. Still playable though, you just have to use Divine Spears, the spear part of spears as intended in melee range. It moved from being a huge AoE tool to a melee nuke, fair enough. And Dante, let's see if the tooltips are working or if Bugframe beats us. So basically what people were complaining about was the light verse. Overguard cap got reduced. Our Dante is sitting at 218 power, strength, and a bit of range. Yeah, it did get reduced. I think it was like 40,000 or something, and almost 1,000 Overguard before the patch. I could be hallucinating, but I think that's what it was, like 40 to 50,000. I remember seeing, but I was playing Madurai and Malt Augmented, so it might still be the same. And yeah, final verse, still insane damage multiplier. Like you get some status on the enemy, it ends it quickly, and you get over 6 times damage, which all the status would do in that time. The Word Wardens, they seem to have actually got a buff. I could swear it was 30% before. Yeah, I'm absolutely sure it was 30% before. And the status vulnerability here on Page Flight on the final verse, so dark plus light verse, and then 4 for final verse, that actually got buffed, because I remember it being at like 77%. So as usual, people are kind of over dramatizing and saying like, I'm quitting and it's unplayable now, and like, oh, how could you do this? Still works really well. And yeah, I'm gonna release a video on Dante and his like 3 major playstyles, with a book, with abilities, and a secret technique. So stay tuned for that. Thanks for watching.